Good day, subscribers. It's me, the finance guy, back with another video today, and today we're going to be talking about why I think cash is king. Now, we have a standpoint where I really like to talk about investing on my channel, but I also want to talk about the very important fact of having cash available to invest in times of economic trouble. But I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about what I think is going on right now. We're reaching the higher points of a stock market boom, and as far as the real estate is concerned, we're getting higher and higher. We haven't reached to the point of peak. We're still on this kind of upward trend. I'd say if we're comparing it to the stock market is definitely ahead as far as its higher valuation versus the housing market. With that being said, I wanted to kind of just touch bases on what I think is kind of the most important factor when it comes to investing. When you're investing in the stock market or investing in anything, I think it's very important to think differently than the rest of everyone else. Now, you want to be a buyer when everyone is selling, and you want to be selling when everyone is buying, and that's the trick to buying low and selling high. So if everyone is buying right now, which hold on, wait a minute, 1 second, everyone is buying right now, then what do you do to try and balance out how to stay ahead financially? So having cash available to do so will allow you to be nimble enough to move around through the market and be able to purchase things at much cheaper evaluations as stocks are falling, or have options to exercise, puts if the market is falling. Or there's all kinds of different things that you could do to make money as a market falls and wait out the eventual, hopefully, recovery. Now, as some people will say is, well, cash really isn't king because cash is a fiat-based currency, or having cash available just limits you to an eventual calamity if the dollar is inherently worthless, like what has happened in some foreign third world countries. The rise of hyperinflation happens, and then their dollar is worth nothing. Like in a worst case scenario, what's going on in Venezuela. As you can see, it was a pretty decently normalized price until their currency inherently became worthless. It caused their currency to be absolutely worth nothing, and then it shot up 3,606,408%. Well, that could happen here in the United States, though I think it's unlikely to happen. Even if it did happen, that's why you can have a hedge against, precious metals or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of different things that you can hedge against. An eventual collapse of something of that magnitude, I believe that bullets, water, and medicine would probably be more valuable. But we're not going to go into that. That's pretty doomsayery. I just kind of wanted to touch basis on why I think cash is king, and having cash available to purchase stocks or be able to purchase property. Let's check out the median average chart for houses in the US and currently where they're at right now. As you can see, back in 2006 it was much higher, and now we're heading back to those levels. It'll break past this, I think, here in the next few years. And honestly, I'm fine with this because I have to pay off my debts before I even think about getting into a home. Everyone's like, oh, you should get in the market. I can't tell you how many people come up to me at my place of work and they tell me, hey, oh my gosh, I have this perfect house for you. Or, because I work in customer service and they're always giving me their cards. It's actually quite hilarious, and they're always trying to sell me a home. But I'm not going to buy a home in these incredibly high markets. I'm going to buy a home when things are much cheaper. I'm not going to buy into a seller's market. I'm going to buy into a buyer's market. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, what little experience you've had in the stock market and little experience when it comes to doing any kind of real estate. You don't even own a home. How do you even know what things are overvalued anyways? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, just because of my little experience, I can't look at previous situations and say, okay, well, this happened at this time. These were higher evaluated things. We have some similarities between that and right now. What has changed? What hasn't changed? What is changing? And where can we go from there? This is a housing chart of houses being built, and as you can see, in every dark bar, there's kind of a dip, except for back in the 1967, somewhere around in there wasn't a whole lot of houses being built, and in 2001, somewhere around in there, the market continued to kind of go up. But for the most part, every single time that there's a dip, it's followed by a recession. So the housing market remains bullish, but there's one thing that I think is kind of interesting right now that I want you guys to take note on, that I thought was an interesting thing that kind of seems to reoccur during financial kind of like ups and downs. I kind of wanted to show you this chart, and this chart was kind of like my way of saying, okay, it won't be long now. In the next 3 to 5 years, we're probably going to end up with a recession. This is the US unemployment chart, and as you can see, by every time that there's like a really good time, low unemployment, there'll be a recession, it seems like, years later. Or 1 to 2, sometimes 3. Very rarely will there be 5 years later, and then you'll end up with a recession. And it's so funny because every dip, you know, you'll go down like from 1980s, boom, 3 years later, recession. Go down, you know, below the 5% mark, 3% mark, you know, boom, recession. Go all the way up, you know, back to what we had in 2010, boom, recession. So, and currently here we are. And don't worry about all this stuff, guys. It's just my perspective on what I think is happening currently in the market. I think being weighted heavy in cash right now will create you a better buying opportunity for the future. Instead of diving into all the FANG stocks out there, just make sure that you're being prepared financially in case of, okay, you know, the housing market isn't doing so good, or the stock market isn't doing so good, or previously in the past when unemployment has reached all-time lows, following, you know, 2 to 3 years later, we end up with a recession. Well, you know, maybe that's something you guys take into consideration when it comes to doing any kind of investing. And I think being weighted heavy in cash right now is really advantageous for your future, especially when you have somebody who's been investing in the market for a really long time, is weighted more in cash now than he has been in history. So just some food for thought. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, guys. Give me a like if you like the video. Hit the little bell down there for any kind of notification when I make and upload a video. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. And I'll see you guys again next time.